Welcome to the Bravo Papers, a safe space for all us Bravo fans who love to analyze, deconstruct, and talk about our favorite Bravo shows ad nauseum. There's no such thing as overanalyzing or reading too much into your favorite Bravo shows and Bravo celebrities here. So join me, Bravo and Botox, as I find the depth amongst the shallow. Guys, I am shook. I'm shook. I'm almost speechless, and that is a rarity. I can't believe, like, it is. I just found this news out about Kyle and Mauricio like 17 minutes ago. Okay, the news broke 2 hours ago. But how's this for timing? The last 2 hours, I've been working on my Bravo breaking news episode for this week. And I was, typing away and researching and all that as I do. So I missed it. And then I went, because usually I'm like opening my phone more often, but I wasn't opening it. And then I went out and I got some food and I came back. And while I was eating, I open up Reddit, which I don't usually go on Reddit that often, but I opened up Reddit and it was like Kyle Richards and Mauricio Umansky have separated after 27 years of marriage. Wow. If that's not breaking news, I don't know what is. So I had this whole plan for this episode. I was going to talk just about some of the suspicions that have been mounting. And then I was going to talk about other stuff, but like, my God, I might have to dedicate the whole episode to the separation because this is wild. Wow. Okay, so I'm processing. Sorry, I'm processing in real time as you listen and as I record. So before we start, hello, everyone. Welcome. It is Monday, July 3rd. I know a lot of my listeners are Americans, so I wanted to say, happy July 4th. And to all my Canadian listeners, happy Canada Day, which was on Saturday. And my God, Kyle gave us something to talk about this long weekend, didn't she? Please, as usual, rate, review, and subscribe, and I will go into more details about that at the end because, my God, we have to get into this. So, I was originally, like I said, going to talk about some of the rumors, but we know now that these are not rumors and that they are separating. And now, okay, so some of the stuff about Kyle and this new partner, that we don't have that confirmed. But to me, this announcement of separation is a confirmation. So in terms of the gravity of this announcement, I mean, to me, this is slightly underneath Scandival, but close, very close. It would be Scandival level, or could be, if we find out that Mauricio was cheating with, one of Kyle's friends or something like that, which, there's people still making the Dorit joke, which I don't really believe. But I mean, God, anything could be true at this point because every time I think there's nothing that can shock me, I get shocked. So that being said, the reason I say it's a little bit under Scandival is only because I think Scandival just had more reach, because the older audience, and by older, I mean, like us who are in our late 30s and 40s, we've watched them on the show. We've grown with them. We've watched them go from like the immature 20-year-olds to the more, I mean, it's arguable, but we've watched them go into a new phase of life, right? And then it also reaches the younger audience as well, who are still in that phase of life and maybe are dealing with like a cheating boyfriend and having girls or guys or whoever in your friend group who would do that kind of thing, right? So I do think it was kind of had a large reach. Now, a marriage separating certainly has a large reach as well. Don't get me wrong. But I think the other thing that maybe gives Scandival a little bit leg up in terms of being a bigger media juggernaut is that with Vanderpump Rules, that cast is just so well trained. Like, they are ready to share everything and they have no qualms, right? Because even those of them that have children, the children are so young and they've been doing it so long. It's like, you know, like Ariana called production and texted everyone, right? Whereas Kyle, you know, they finished filming a little while ago. I guarantee you this timing is not coincidental. Kyle had this all planned. Kyle probably doesn't want it to all play out on camera. She probably wants to get some of the nitty gritty done between seasons. And then when the next season comes, then she can kind of pick and choose what she shares. And by then her and Mauricio may have kind of figured out the way they want to spin it. And right, because they are a very carefully constructed machine, because it's not just about Beverly Hills like it is for the Vanderpump Rules people. It's also about Mauricio's company being at the head of this, huge real estate company. It's also about their children, who are all old enough to understand exactly what's going on, and the way that it's put in the press is going to have an effect on them. And it's also about, Netflix too, because now Mauricio has this Netflix show, which, now that I'm kind of reflecting on that, I mean, it kind of makes sense why Kyle maybe isn't as involved in that. I always assumed it was more because of the maybe conflict of interest with Bravo and Netflix, but maybe it's not. I don't know. So maybe we'll find out more about that. But wow, I think Kyle and Mauricio were sort of like that steady staple couple that we could all depend on in the Bravo world. And even though we all knew deep in our hearts, no matter how much we didn't want to admit it, we all knew deep in our hearts that it wasn't perfect, right? There's always been allegations. There's always been rumors of cheating and things like that. But a lot of us have been willing to ignore it, or maybe, and some of us who are even more idealistic, maybe wanted to believe that those were just rumors or people looking for attention. But I mean, I'm not going to lie. I've always assumed Mauricio cheats. I don't have evidence or proof of it, but I've always just assumed, because usually, not always, but usually when there's smoke, there's fire. And there's been a lot of smoke about Mauricio. There's the rumors that were brought up on the show. What season was it? 3 or 4, whatever the Carlton season was, which was the same season where LVP kind of, tries to get Brandy to bring the magazines so that they can bring it up on the show or whatever. So there's that. And then just over the years, obviously I'm tuned into the gossip mill when it comes to Bravo, and I've seen people on Reddit and other places posting that, oh, hey, my friend made out with Mauricio, said he was really nice. Him and his buddies took a group of our friends to this hotel. That, like, I've heard that many times. Many, many, many times. Now, again, those are blinds, those are rumors, anyone can write anything, so that's not evidence. However, when it's coming up fairly often, that's, it makes you think, right? Do I think Mauricio has been faithful their whole marriage? No, I don't, not at all. I'm sorry, I just don't. I never have thought that. Now, in terms of Kyle and his sort of arrangement, because there's always been a lot of talk, like, do they have an open relationship, or is he just a cheater? Or is this like something they have worked out? I think that it's neither. I think they have sort of a ignorance is bliss, don't ask, don't tell type of policy. And by that, I mean, I think Kyle always knew on some level that Mauricio would have his moments. I think she probably can, and again, this is all my own, sort of guesses and opinions. I think somewhere inside she sort of knew and preferred to just kind of live in the wonderful land of denial and kind of fantasy, right? Where she could have, the perfect looking marriage with the beautiful family and the success and the money, like have it all, right? Without any of the stuff that really comes along with it. And any of the negative stuff is what I mean. Sorry. I really think that she just kind of preferred living in that headspace. But I also think that what happens when you do that is you can do it, but it catches up eventually, right? You can only do it to a certain point. There's only a certain amount of times that, Mauricio would be able to justify if somebody, DM'd Kyle or texted, oh, I saw Mauricio or this or that, or she had some girl in her DMs being like, I made out with your husband. Like, let's just say any of those things or any sort of suspicions came up. Kyle finds something suspicious on his phone or whatever. There's only so many times that, she could probably let that slide before it just gets to be too much. And it's also easier to ignore that stuff and let that stuff slide when you have younger kids and you're busy and you're focused on the kids, you're working on that, you have a reason to kind of stay together, like all that kind of stuff. Now that they're older, and I do know that she has the youngest who is still pretty young, who's only like 14 or whatever the age is. But again, the other ones are all grown and out the house and all that, right? So, she's mostly out of that phase. Okay. And even Portia is going to be more independent at this phase, right? She's not like a little tiny kid or anything. So I do think it probably is harder for Kyle to ignore these types of things. And, when you kind of maybe know on some level that, yeah, when he goes on a real estate business trip, he probably does this or does that. And she probably for a long time was like, you know what, as long as it's not emotional, it's just like a physical thing. Maybe she could detach it. It doesn't mean anything. That could be another possibility, but at the end of the day, over time, like I said, it's going to wear on you. The other thing is resentment grows, and resentment can often lead to indifference. It can lead to anger and sadness. And a lot of times it can lead to I just don't care anymore. And I'm kind of getting the impression that, I'm sure Kyle went through the motions, and it kind of like based on all the clues and evidence about her and this woman that she's maybe with, we're not sure. I don't know. It seems like she's sort of ready to move on. Like maybe she grew out of him in a way, because I could see Mauricio wanting to keep it together. Like I could see Mauricio being the one who does not want to let the marriage go. Like who would be like, yeah, I know I slept with this 20-year-old or whatever I did, and I know I haven't been faithful, but it's all physical. Like you're my wife, you're the one I love. Like I could totally see that. And I could see him still like truly believing that he's in love with Kyle and she's like his, forever. She's the mother of his children. Like I could see him having her on a pedestal like that. Right. And like, like feeling like I have to have a wife by my side as like a businessman, a family man. It's good for his image. And I could see Kyle being like, yeah, I've done that for you and I've played along for quite a while. And, you've kind of made me look like a fool. And I feel like she's over it. I could see that. Not that I'm saying like, she has no feelings anymore and she's just like la-di-da. I'm not saying that, but it does. I am kind of getting the impression that she's a little bit more moved on than he is. And I'll tell you why as I go through the kind of timeline here. So that's just my opinion and perception of what went down. I don't think they had an open relationship. Okay. To kind of summarize. I think Mauricio has been a kind of one-night stand kind of cheater, or maybe had girlfriends on the side, but he's the kind of guy, he never intended on leaving his wife. I don't think that was ever his intention. Like, I think he'd be fine. He'd stay with her the rest of his life and have side chicks. I think that's, and a lot of men in power positions, especially one who's gone from like having nothing to being like the number one real estate agent in the country, they get a sense of entitlement. Like, they believe they deserve it almost. Like, that's, it becomes almost like a part of life, right? It's like you have your woman and you have your other women. Like, I could totally see him believing that. And Kyle just being like, and maybe he really thought, like, Kyle is so obsessed with me. And she's so, because like, look how she always seemed so jealous. And so like, she was so like all about Mauricio until she wasn't. Right. And I don't know if he ever would have suspected that she would get to that point, but everybody does eventually. Sometimes it takes 5 years. Sometimes it takes 27 years. It just depends. So there is so much evidence that this separation has, I do not think this separation was official as of today. This has been going on for a while. There are some people who are like, oh, did they separate because Kyle fell in love with this woman? And did she, leave Mauricio for this woman? I don't think so. I think her and Mauricio were rocky. They probably kind of quote unquote broke up without doing maybe anything legally officially yet, or maybe they weren't sure. They were kind of in that limbo phase. And during that time, I think, they both maybe started to move on. And Kyle clearly met someone, which is what everyone has been suspicious of. And there's so much evidence. Okay, so I want to first give a shout out to Face Reality 16. So at Face Reality 16 on Instagram. She has an amazing deep dive on her Instagram stories. There's 2 now, actually, that you can go through if you want to see like all the pictures, all the timelines, like every detail. I'm going to go over the stuff that, that I've noticed and that I've pulled out that I think is the most interesting, just so we can kind of get a hold of the timeline here. So it seems that Kyle met this woman whose name is Morgan Wade. And she's a country musician or artist. So it seems that Kyle met this woman in February of 2022. And around then, Kyle and Mo seemed to be fine. Kyle was still posting like lots of cute couple pics. They went to Coachella and they like had a picture of them like walking with their hands in each other's pockets. Like I fully remember when they posted that. Now, soon after that, if many of you might remember this, one of Kyle's best friends took her own life, and it was really sad. And, Kyle, it was reported, like Kyle said to a media outlet, I can't remember which one, that she was going to therapy for help with this. So that's a life-changing event. Like having one of your best friends, die in such a tragic manner. That's going to change someone. That is the kind of thing that could make someone like Kyle or anyone reevaluate their life, right? Anyways, that's just something to keep in mind. And so in July of 2022, so about a year ago, that was when Kyle and Mauricio posted their last, Kyle posted her last kind of lovey-dovey picture of her and Mauricio. Okay, so that's like a year ago. That's more than a year ago. That's 13 months. The other thing to keep in mind is there was another post since then, but it was a sponsored post and it was like a commercial. So we're not counting that. So then in September of 2022, this is when Kyle kind of starts to change her look, and she's like more, almost like sophisticated punk, I guess, in some ways, right? Lots of leather. She's more edgy, and there's more pics of her with this Wade Morgan woman. And Kyle went as her guest to the American Music Awards. So that's in September 2022. And in November 2022, Kyle actually goes on a trip with Morgan and her mom and her younger siblings. Not Kyle, Morgan's mom and younger siblings. So we have, these kind of like intimate family trips. She's her guest to the AMAs, which is very random, considering they had just become friends the February before. But anyways, And people also, Kyle's losing weight. People are noticing she's getting like thinner and thinner. And by December 22, like that's when people were like, wow, okay, Kyle, like you're getting really thin. And that was when the Ozempic rumors were really flying. And now that I'm thinking back on it, not that I don't necessarily think Kyle is or is not on Ozempic. I don't know. But it's crazy, like, how furiously she's denied it. It almost has been like, it's like thou doth protest too much, right? Like, I've been always thinking, like, why, like, just ignore it, Kyle. It'll go away. But now I'm kind of like I said on last week's Bravo Breaking News, if you listen to it, I'm like, maybe she's not. Maybe that's why she's so pissed that it keeps getting talked about. Maybe she lost all the weight going through this separation from Mauricio, because that is something, I could see that, right? Maybe it's kind of all part of her transformation. So in January 2023, Kyle, Morgan, and some other girlfriends actually go to Mexico. And Morgan posts a picture on the plane of them on their way, and Kyle's like sitting in her lap, and it's very coupley. But no one thought anything of it because we all assume, number one, that Kyle's married to Mauricio, and number two, that Kyle's straight, right? Kyle's never said anything about being bisexual or anything, right? So no one thought twice about it, right? Like if that was a picture of Kyle on a man's lap on the private plane on the way to Mexico, you better believe everyone would have been talking about it. It would have been like, when that picture of Raquel on Sandoval's shoulders came out. And even that, most people were able to justify, like, oh, it's because Ariana is not the jealous type, right? But then it turned out to be something. But anyways, so yeah, I mean, in a lot of ways, like Kyle having this new relationship, she was able to flaunt it a little bit because she knew that nobody would suspect until they did. Right? But she had quite a little heyday of time where she could just kind of be like, whatever, right? And yes, she did hide things. I'm going to get into that. But so in February 2023, Kyle goes on a trip to Universal Studios with Morgan. And right around then, Mauricio posts a Valentine's Day post for Kyle. But she doesn't like it. Kyle doesn't comment on it. And she posts nothing for him. So this is what kind of makes me feel like maybe they were taking a break, or the separation had already was, coming, but Mauricio was maybe a little bit in denial about it. So I do think that Mauricio was maybe thinking, whatever she's mad at me about, and I'm going to assume it's like maybe my assumption is she got sick of being cheated on, and probably, who knows, maybe she got DMs. We don't know, but I think that there was evidence that was maybe too much for her to deny, or she was just sick of it and she was ready to move on. But I think Mauricio and I think this is part of his ego, because I do think he has a very big ego. I think that he thought, I can get Kyle back, right? Like put up these mushy posts, give her some space, give her a bit of time. She's going to come back to me. Now, the other possibility is that he posted it purely for PR and for his business, which that's possible, but I actually don't think that. I think that is maybe a secondary reason behind it, but not the first. And obviously, like, there's no posts that Kyle's putting up. So in March and April, by the way, so this is March and April now of 2023. Beverly Hills is filming around this time. Scandoval begins. We are all distracted, right? We are all so distracted. And during this time, there's a lot of like Kyle commenting on Morgan's pics on her Instagram, and mostly just like fire emojis, like fire emoji, right? So, but again, like people weren't really taking notice because we had a lot going on. And the other thing that has been floating around today on social media, and again, that at Face Reality 16 did a little highlight story on, is her ring. So the last time Kyle was seen wearing her engagement and wedding ring from Mauricio is September 2022. So that's a while ago, which does kind of add up with the timeline that we're looking at here. All the events since then, she's hiding her left hand. Okay, so the Halloween premiere, BravoCon, other random like Beverly Hills events, etc. She's hiding her left hand. Like she's either got it like behind her back, like in a nice pose, it's in her pocket, like something like that. And when you can see it, it looks like she's wearing some type of band, but not her big like honking engagement ring that she usually wears. And she always wears that. So if anyone's going to be like, yeah, but not everyone wears their engagement. No, Kyle always wears her engagement ring. So when we do in some of the pictures that I was seeing, when you get a glimpse of her finger, because she can't hide her hand fully or whatever, it does look like she's wearing a new band, and not the wedding band, but a band that is also worn by Morgan. And this Morgan girl in some pics is seen wearing it also on her left hand, same finger, like the engagement finger, which that's pretty wild. So, I mean, the biggest clue that started all this is posting. Right? Mauricio has been posting like, the regular stuff. Like I said, the Valentine's Day, the birthday, Mother's Day, all very like, Kyle, I love you. You're my queen, like stuff like that. On his feed, he'll post like a bunch of pics and nice captions. Kyle doesn't like any of them or comment on any of them, which is not like her. And he'll comment on her posts. Like she posted a picture of herself with a couple other people, and he posted something about like her looking hot or beautiful or whatever, and she doesn't like his comment and she doesn't reply to it, nothing. She also has some suspicious captions on her own posts. Okay. So she posts like some, pictures of herself, kind of like, here's I am dressed up, looking good, feeling myself. So there was one she posted in like this red dress on the staircase, and she wrote, I'd rather be a lonely lion than a popular sheep. She also posted a picture of herself like standing overlooking the water, and it says, taking it all in while tuning it all out is an art. Okay. So, interesting. Those are very like, a woman finding her independence. Right? And then she also had a post that said life lately, and you could scroll through and there was a bunch of pictures, and Mauricio was in none of them, but Morgan was in 2. And then she had some with other, coworkers / business people and friends. Now there's also the heart tattoos, which is, this part is the most wild because this dates back to last season's reunion. Kyle has like this little heart tattoo in like a certain font on her wrist, and people have noticed that Morgan has a matching one on her hand. And Kyle actually did tell us about hers in September of 2022. So that was at the reunion. She talked about her tattoo during part 2 of the reunion. And basically, Andy asked her to explain her new tattoo. So one of them was for her kids. And then the other one, the heart, she goes, this heart is, and this is a quote, this heart is a heart. It's like she doesn't know what to say, is a heart. And it, it means something to me. So she leaves it extremely vague. So it says it's not just a heart to look cute. It means something to her. And then Morgan also has the heart tattoo, like I said, but also has gotten a tattoo on her arm that is a K. Okay. A K. Okay. All right. So anyways, I don't need a lot more evidence after all that, but let's keep going. So there's also a post that Morgan put up in February 2023. And one of her friends commented and said, love this. Glad you got some family and Kyle time. Oh, okay. Kyle time. Interesting. So, usually when you say that, it's like, quality time with a person you're in a relationship with. And I think the most obvious one, which is the one that's really, turned the light switch on for a lot of people in the last couple weeks, which is what kind of started all this. And this is what really started my suspicions too, was Kim Richards' daughter's wedding. So one of Kim Richards' daughters got married, and Mauricio and Kyle, like, they were at the wedding, all their kids were at the wedding, but it was very strange that there were no pics of Kyle and Mauricio together at that wedding. Even Alexia posted pics with her parents, but they were separate. So she posted a picture with just her and her dad and just her and her mom, which is very odd for them because that is just not the type of family that they are. They've never been like that. And I just want to go back for a second to the reunion where Kyle talks about the heart tattoo. I remember at that reunion, and I mean, I had like a whole Twitter roundups about it. Kyle was so unhinged at that reunion. It was like the second Kathy came out, and even before that, she was so emotional. Now, Kyle is always emotional. She's an emotional person, especially when it comes to her sisters. But it seemed like her level did not match the incident that they were talking about, like with the whole Aspen thing. Like, yes, I understand that was like a big scandal and it took everyone, to everyone's attention, and it was definitely the biggest thing being talked about at that moment in terms of like storylines and stuff like that. But I just remember thinking, like, what is going on? Like, why is, like, Kyle needs to calm down. Now, Kyle was getting a lot of hate that season too. And now that we're thinking about it, like, this was all around the time that she's going through this breakup. Even if it wasn't an official separation or whatever, she's going through this breakup with Mauricio. She's having this fight with her sister. And on top of that, she's maybe exploring this new love interest. Like, that's a lot for one person to be taking on all at the same time. So maybe that is why she was so extra sensitive. Like, I really could see that. So another thing is that Kathy and Kyle and Morgan, this Morgan woman, did an IG live. And Kathy mentions that they have a secret. So, I mean, it's Kathy, so that could mean a lot of things, but still. Another thing is that Morgan Wade had a concert, and her ex-girlfriend, and this was March 2023, by the way, and Morgan's ex-girlfriend, Katie, posted a TikTok video of herself crying because she went to Morgan's show and got upset because a quote-unquote certain person was there. But she would not identify who this person was. It turns out that Kyle Richards was at that exact show, and it was in LA on March 23rd in LA. So Teddy was there too, by the way. Not that I care about Teddy, but anyways. But I mean, that's pretty wild. It's like, it's like this Katie girl saw her ex obviously with someone new, and not just someone new who's like a fling. You can tell these two are like, if they are together, it's serious, right? They're getting matching tattoos, they're wearing matching rings, like, anyways. So the other weird thing today that, and again, none of this is even that weird now that, because when I was going to record this, in my head a couple hours ago, these were all just suspicions. But now to me, a lot of it is confirmed. But the other thing I was going to mention was that there was a belated birthday post towards Teddy. Because it was weird, like, yesterday, I think, was Teddy's birthday, and Kyle didn't post anything, which is strange. And then Kyle posted something today on her story, finally, like a picture of her and Teddy. And she said, "Hey, Teddy Mellencamp, I hope you know how much I appreciate you and how grateful I am to RHOBH for bringing you into my life. I hope your birthday was as special as you are." Interesting, because that, number one, it's late, a day late. And it's like, I hope your birthday was as special as you. Like, so, past tense. And secondly, it's like, normally it would be a post on her feed and she'd be gushing. She's such a good friend. Now, I know you might be thinking like, well, what does Teddy have to do with this? Well, sometimes when you have a big change in your life, especially a new relationship, you can get distracted. You might be distracted by your own relationship issues from the old one. People go through the honeymoon phase when they're in a new one, and a lot of times they start like neglecting their friends or not being there for them as much and things like that. Or maybe, the life changes is going to cause them to drift as friends, right? Like Kyle's no longer the like Kyle with her husband and her white picket fence type of family, right? Like it's like she's almost changing in some ways. Like I said, she's like, her style is different. Like everything looks different, right? So maybe, her and Teddy are not as connected as they once were. Who knows? I don't know. I guess we'll see. And it's funny because Kyle did post like a picture of Mauricio hiking, like from the back, but it's just Mauricio. This was either today or yesterday. She's not in it, but like, who knows when that was from? That picture could have been from like 2 years ago. No one knows, right? So I feel like she just put it up to maybe divert attention or to just shut people up, because this is all people have been, in the Bravo world, people have been speculating like crazy. And there's no caption on it, no hearts. There's just like a bear gif in the corner. So, it just goes along with everything else. Like, she's just been posting like the bare minimum when it comes to Mauricio, no pun intended. So wow, that is pretty crazy. And of course, one of the big talking points is that the medium, Alison Dubois, was right. He will never emotionally fulfill you. Know that. I mean, predicting a divorce in Beverly Hills is like not that groundbreaking to me, but still. So funnily enough though, she's quick. Okay, she already posted on Twitter about it. So she wrote, "My phone is blowing up from reporters now that Kyle and Mauricio have separated. So here's my comment. I don't wish Kyle ill. I hope she finds what she's looking for. I guess I'm the only one who saw this, quote unquote, this coming. People kept telling me I was picking up on Camille's divorce, not Kyle. Okay, you armchair psychics can sit down now. Mic drop. Hashtag housewives, hashtag housewives of Beverly Hills, hashtag medium." I mean, like, that's obviously snarky, and it does kind of feel like she's taking some pleasure in another person's misfortune. But, it's also kind of her opportunity to maybe get some comments and get some new followers and get some people hiring her for readings and things like that. So, yeah. I mean, you got to make that money, I guess. But anyways, and I don't think Kyle, that's the least of Kyle's problems, is this psychic from like a million years ago. So, my God, this has been a crazy last couple hours. Like, wow. So, I am going to be posting some Twitter roundups in regards to this. There's a lot of tweets happening, and, some are funny, some are sad. Obviously when things like this happen, people like to make jokes about it, etc. But in all honesty, wishing Kyle all the best. I hope that she, I see this. It's sad in that these two people are separating and they have children, and that part is sad. But on the other side, I really get the kind of vibe and energy that they haven't been happy for a while. And I do think that they will be better apart. And I think given the right time and healing, I think they could be friends one day. I actually could see them being the type of personalities that could have an amicable relationship and maybe one day even a friendship, and that it will, in the long run, I hope, be better for all of them. And I'm here to see how Kyle handles it and all that. I'm not confident that she's going to share as much as we would like her to share, the way that we appreciate from the Vanderpump Rules cast. However, we'll see what happens. Okay? Because, obviously this is something that people are going to want to hear about. So there's going to be a lot of pressure for her to share. Oh, man. Okay. I know I said I was just going to maybe only do the Kyle stuff, but I have these other stories, they're ready. Might as well go over them. I'll go over them quick so that this doesn't end up being too long of a news episode. Quick story that's been floating around is that Michael Jordan, most famous basketball player in the world, does not approve of Larsa Pippen and his son. So he was caught by a reporter out and about, and they asked him straight up if he approves, and he said no. I mean, I don't know. Is it just because she's Pippen's ex, or because she's so much older? I mean, I don't know. But at the end of the day, they're adults. They're going to do what they want to do. And, a lot of times if a parent doesn't approve, it drives the child even closer. So we'll see what happens. And we'll see if Larsa claps back, which I doubt she will, but we'll see. Vanderpump Rules. Let's talk a little bit about it. I mean, my God, I thought I was going to get a bit of a break. I was hoping, listen, I got to be honest, the selfish part of me was hoping that there wouldn't be another big Bravo World scandal until August so we could just, because I still have a Scandival hangover. I wanted a bit more time, but that's not going to happen, I guess. The cast was seen filming at Pump. So they're filming currently, and they were filming at Pump because Pump is closing, which is kind of sad. It's like the end of an era. Like all of us original Vanderpump Rules fans, we remember when she was opening Pump and like, the Pride episode where no one was going to CERD. It was so dead because everybody was at Pump, right? And Pump Teeny, like we all remember all that. So it's sad. The doors close officially on July 5th. So I believe they were having like maybe some sort of like closing goodbye to Pump party, which I didn't know that this was a thing. Like I saw that on Orange County too. Like Tamra was having the closing down of her gym party. And I was like, I always thought that when a business went out of business, you just shut the business down. But it seems like, why are you celebrating this kind of sad event? But then on the other side, I guess you're celebrating like, yes, no, it didn't work out long term, but it was still an achievement. We still had great times here. And also we're filming a reality show, so we need excuses to throw parties. So I get it. It seems like Schwartz is on a bit of a redemption tour with his castmates. So in a lot of the filming scenes, there's been like, some pictures taken by people, boots on the ground. We see Schwartz having a heated conversation with Sheena and a conversation with James, like a sit down. So, I think we all kind of know what that's going to be about. Katie also posted a picture of herself, like sort of a selfie of herself drinking a martini. And it's a little fuzzy, so I'm not 100% sure, but it looks like Schwartz and Ariana are talking in the background. As much as I'm mad at Schwartz, and I still am mad at Schwartz, I was more mad at Schwartz about how he treated Katie than anything else. I do hope that him and Ariana can move forward, but he's going to need to be sincere, and he's going to need to put some actions behind his words. Like enough of the puppy dog, like going, I didn't know. Like, no, he's going to need to really show that he's ready to be a dedicated, loyal friend. And I would not blame Ariana if she didn't want to just ever be his friend again. I would get that. And if she just wanted to kind of tolerate him, that would be fair too. Now, everyone seems to be back for filming, except Raquel. So we haven't seen anything from Raquel yet. I still don't have an update on whether she has signed a contract or anything like that. I still think she's going to come back. It might just be in the latter half of the season, and it may be in a smaller way. Now, that being said, I don't really think she's needed on the show. I was going to say unpopular opinion, but I've seen that opinion floating around from other people as well. Like, yes, she did cause all this drama. Partly. It wasn't just her. But she's not like really that interesting. Like, she's not a dynamic character. If she hadn't slept with Sandoval, I could just never see her on screen again and be fine with it. I thought she was so boring and vanilla, and like her confessionals are cringe. Like, it's just, I don't know. To me, she's not needed on the show anymore. She just isn't. I don't know what she thought was going to happen, but anyways, I guess we'll see. If she's back, I'm also fine with that. If we can get maybe some more answers, or she's ready to, throw Sandoval under the bus more, I'm down with that. But then even after all that happens, she can go, move along. So Sandoval is apparently filming Special Forces World's Toughest Test. So he's been MIA for the Vanderpump Rules filming, which is strange to me. But I have heard that it is confirmed that he's going to be on the season. So I'm a little confused about that. But maybe the first half of the season is going to be more like Ariana kind of healing and things like that. And then maybe kind of him trying to find his place will be later. I don't know. I don't know how they're going to make this work. I really don't. Because I just can't imagine Ariana and him hanging out in the same circle. It makes no sense. On a sort of related note, it's been confirmed that there's going to be that a Vanderpump Rules spinoff is in the works with the group of friends who, quote unquote, swapped their West Hollywood lifestyle for babies and family life in the Valley. So it's basically like Jackson, Brittany, and others who've given up the kind of wild single life and the partying and all that to raise their families in the suburbs. It seems like Jackson, Brittany are going to be on it, and I read that Kristen Doty might be as well, which seems like an odd choice because I didn't realize that maybe is she married? I don't know. I don't even know. Let's try. Let's Google it. Is Kristen Doty? Oh, look, it's like the first thing coming up. Okay, so she's not married, but she's with a current boyfriend, Luke Broderick, who's like a long-term boyfriend. So, I mean, maybe it's going to follow her like on the journey towards marriage, or even if they're not getting married, maybe just like having a more serious relationship or whatever. I don't know. I have no idea. All right, so let's move along to, and people have different opinions about the VPR spinoff. Should these people have a platform considering their past and all that? I mean, to me, it's not worth discussing it until it's confirmed because, like, I don't know. Is it even happening? I don't even know. Would Kristen actually be on it, or is that just speculation? So we'll see. We'll see what happens with that one. I do want to talk about Summer House a little bit. And we know that Amanda is filming because she posted a selfie from the Summer House, but nothing from Sam, Corey, Maya, or Chris. Now, Maya removed Summer House from her Instagram bio, and her and Chris posted some pictures together, I believe, in the city, while Amanda was at the Summer House posting pictures. So it seems that we're pretty sure that Maya and Chris are out of the picture, which is not surprising because Chris was just kind of boring. And I think Maya kind of sealed her own fate by not sharing what was going on with Oliver. I mean, ultimately, she ended up having to share it because it doesn't matter how much you whisper or what closet you run into or bathroom, those cameras and those mics are going to find you. So I do think that, Maya kind of tried to hide her personal drama, and, the producers are not going to take well to that. They're just not. So now Sam and Corey, I'm not sure about. There's a part of me that thinks that they might, I know this might sound crazy, but there's a part of me that thinks they might voluntarily step down. A lot of stuff has come out about Corey, about, him posting discriminatory and, transphobic, etc. type of posts. Or like him not posting them, but liking them and commenting and stuff like that. If he did post, my apologies, because I just can't remember. I read it. But I'm pretty sure it was just like commenting and liking, and people were upset about that. So there's a part of me that thinks that like Sam and Corey might just kind of bow out because maybe they don't want to deal with that and answering about it. I could see that, to be honest. Like they seem like they're in their, quote unquote love bubble, and maybe they just want to keep it that way. I don't know. Or maybe Corey's like, forget it. I can't handle the pressure that comes along with it. I don't know. So I guess we'll see. But as of now, they haven't posted any pictures from the Summer House. So let's talk about Southern Charm, because it's been a while. I mean, we talk about Craig because of Paige, I guess. But Southern Charm is going to be, the new season's going to be starting in September. There's going to be some new cast members along with the old ones, and there will be more diversity. So that's good. All I'm really hearing about kind of beef, quote unquote, is that there is something between a new cast member and an OG male cast member. I have a feeling it's Austin or Craig. Now, I know you might be like, okay, well, that's like all the OG cast members. There's Shep. I just really have a feeling it was Craig. I have no evidence. I don't know why. I just have this vibe that it was Craig, but we'll see. Craig was also pictured, which I thought I was shocked when I saw this. But Craig was recently pictured with Matul, who is Naomi's ex. Remember the one who cheated on her and who would like really talk down to her, and he was like really like kind of seemed controlling about like what she was going to eat and losing weight, and like he was just, he was not good as a boyfriend, right? And the fact that Craig who is also Naomi's ex, would take a picture with that guy who he knows, like that was a bad breakup. And like most of the audience, the vast majority, did not like that guy. But I mean, the more time that goes on, the more I feel like Craig shows his true colors. Like just the way he went after Lindsay's looks. Like he doesn't have to like Lindsay. That's fine. I didn't even really like when he was like, Lindsay's the worst, I can't stand her. What? That's fine. You don't have to like each other. But like then when he started like on Winter House trying to say she's like ugly or like who wants to look like her, I was like, Craig, like you're supposed to be getting older and more mature, and you're going backwards, if anything. So the fact that he would be in that picture and show that, I mean, maybe it's coincidental. Maybe they ran into each other. I don't know. But it seems like he's starting. On the topic of Croy and Kim, I'm getting tired, so I'm just going to do them quickly. Like, tired of them and this divorce thing. I know this is their life, but I'm just saying it's like every week it's something new, and it's a lot. Croy's been sued by a Caribbean casino who say that he owes $52,000 in credit that he took out at the casino to gamble. Now, was that for Kim? I don't know. Maybe he also, I don't know, maybe he has a gambling problem too. We really don't know. The two of them, they were together a long time, right? Maybe they had that in common, and maybe he decided to work on it and she didn't want to. Who knows? They also have been sued because they owe $2,500 to Target on a Target credit card. And a lot of people are pointing out like, yeah, meanwhile they were like taking pictures with their Rolls Royce, but they couldn't pay off, $2,500 on a Target card. So yeah, obviously the finances are just a bad situation for this couple. Last lawsuit story. Joe Gorga is being sued over refusing to pay legal fees in a $6 million real estate sale. So this was from 2020, so I don't know if that's the property that him and Melissa are currently living in. But basically, his former real estate lawyer is suing him for $3,337.50 in legal fees. These fees were owed in 2020. The lawyer says he has demanded multiple times and is now asking for interest, attorney's fees, and the cost of the suit. Which is, I mean, those are the most shocking. I actually think that Melissa and Joe are quite similar to Croy and Kim. I don't think they have a gambling problem, but I do feel like Croy and Kim were very much about like keeping up with the Joneses and putting out an image of wealth and of like just everything looks pretty and shiny from the outside. And I get that same kind of vibe from Joe and Melissa, right? Like they've got to have it. The newest car, outfit, house, whatever. But then they can't pay a $3,000 legal fee. Like, what is that? Why can't you pay that? And it'd be one thing if this was a one-off. I'd say, oh, maybe there was some discrepancy or something. But it's like every other week, there's another story of them being sued over something. So it's like it's the same as Kim and Croy. It's a bit much. And, hopefully they can all, get their debts paid off and figure out how to actually live within their means. I really don't think that's going to happen. But that's the thing about being on Housewives is, a lot of these women, they'll get on Housewives, they'll land the paycheck, they'll do well on the show. But then they got to spend sometimes above their means in order to kind of maintain the housewives lifestyle. And then it just keeps spinning out of control, right? And it's like, and then the second you get dropped from the show, it's like, what are you going to do? Right? Or the second that the money runs out, like it clearly did with Croy, especially when you have an additional circumstance like a gambleaholic on your hands, it's just, it spins out of control. So we will see. We will see what happens. Okay, so that was a longer one, but I mean, we had some serious breaking news, and I hope that kind of fed your appetite for Kyle and Mauricio news for a little bit. Obviously, I will be updating, and I will be putting a Twitter roundup of tweets about Kyle and Mauricio later tonight. So thank you so much, everyone. And if you're still here and you're still listening, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Please take a screenshot of the podcast, share it to your stories, tag me at Bravo and Botox and at the Bravo Papers. Like usual, I'll share it, send the love. Please tell someone you know, spread the word. I'm, trying to grow this thing. And please follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Bravo and Botox, and follow the Bravo Papers at the Bravo Papers on Instagram as well. Make sure that you rate, review, subscribe. That is the only way I can grow. That is the only way this podcast gets pushed up in the algorithm. And that is the only way I can keep it going. And I would like to keep it going. So I will see you all soon, actually, because I'm going to be doing part 2 of my Summer House Bravo paper, The People of Summer House versus Lindsay Hubbard. I'm going to be recording that right when I finish with this one, and then it'll be posted for tomorrow, which is Tuesday, July 4th. I know I said that last week, but this time, I promise. I'm still getting a hang of the timing and how to kind of balance it with my other job and my real life stuff and my family and my child and, trying to be present for her and, do the mom thing and the working thing. So I promise I'm doing my best. And I thank you all for your patience, love, and support and all the wonderful messages I've been getting. So you are now in the know for everything Bravo, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for listening, everyone. If you enjoyed today's episode, please rate, review, subscribe, and share with a friend or 100 friends, whatever you want. You can follow me on Instagram at the Bravo Papers, or for my Twitter roundups, follow at Bravo and Botox. If you'd like to support me, please go to buymeacoffee.com/Bravo and Botox for some much needed caffeine support. And until next time, keep overanalyzing Bravo.